email correspondence showing that the U.S. Defense Threat Reduction Agency and Pentagon contractors in Ukraine worked with Hunter Biden, President Joe Biden's son, in financing biolabs. The son of the U.S. president allegedly secured funds for Metabiota and Black & Veatch.
The contents of the letters show that Hunter Biden played an important role in creating a financial opportunity for pathogen work in Ukraine. The published correspondence indicates that the true goals of the Pentagon in Ukraine are far from scientific. In one of the letters, the vice president of Metabiota notes that the company's activities will be aimed at ensuring, quote, the cultural and economic independence of Ukraine from Russia, which is rather strange for a biotechnology company.
The Russian parliament is inviting Joe Biden and U.S. Undersecretary for Political Affairs Victoria Nuland to be part of their investigation.
Earlier, the chairman of the State Duma instructed our international committee to begin the procedure of preparing an invitation for explanations from U.S. officials. These are Mrs. Nuland and Biden Jr.
Earlier, we heard from the Russian Defense Ministry that Rosemont Seneca, Hunter Biden's investment firm, had been involved, along with George Soros' Open Society Institute, in financing biological research facilities in Ukraine. Moscow says these labs were involved in developing bioweapons, and one of these labs was even involved in research related to nuclear weapons. Washington and Kiev have both denied that these labs served any military purpose, and after Mrs. Nuland mentioned them in congressional testimony, U.S. media has done everything possible to shut down any mention of their existence. As for Hunter Biden, his laptop created a scandal during the 2020 elections, but mainstream media shut down any mention of it, saying it was Russian disinformation. And Donald Trump was attacked just for bringing it up.
Why did the mayor of Moscow's wife give the Bidens, both of them, $3.5 million for them? That's a lot of money. She gave him $3.5 million. So now I would think Putin would know the answer to that. I think he should release it. I think we should know that answer.
What kind of American, let alone an ex-president, thinks that this is the right time to enter into a scheme with Vladimir Putin and brag about his connections to Vladimir Putin? There is only one, and it's Donald Trump.
Now the Washington Post and the New York Times both admit it was real. They are backtracking and acknowledging hidden truth.
CNN, the federal investigation into Hunter Biden's crooked business dealings is a very real, very substantial investigation of potentially serious federal crimes. There is a realistic chance this could result in federal charges.
I think it's as bogus as it was before. Trump's appeal to Russian President Vladimir Putin to find information about Biden is despicable.
The U.S. media is now trying to retell and reinterpret a story they previously claimed was false. Meanwhile, Russia is raising very serious concerns about biolabs. And at the same time, many are optimistic, hoping that negotiations can bring an end to the hostility in Ukraine. We certainly live in a world of free-flowing, wild information, with different forces scrambling to try and control it. Caleb Maupin, RT, New York.
A base lab is responsible for the identification of especially dangerous biological pathogens. Especially dangerous pathogens, okay? Recovered by the National Pulse, the article raises serious questions about the U.S. government activity in Ukraine, stretching back almost 2 decades. Okay? It was recovered by the National Pulse. Good job. Reveals that former President Barack Obama spearheaded an agreement leading to the construction of biolabs handling especially dangerous pathogens in the Ukraine. Yeah, this is important, okay? Because there are bombshell. I want you to see this, okay? Bombshell deleted articles that when I read it to you, we'll compare that to what Victoria Nuland said, because she said, well, we're doing just kind, gentle research, right? What did she say?
Mm-hmm. Well, she made it sound like it was, research, like people are sitting behind the desk researching things. That isn't what these labs do. And that's not the definition of research.
This is what I wanted Ashley to hear and Deb to hear, because I'm going to click through here, right here. This one right here. When I open this one, I'm going to read it. Okay. Here's the deleted article from June 18th of 2010. Okay. From Tina Redlap. Biolab opens in the Ukraine. Yay! Big go opening grand ceremony. Here we go. Ready? U.S. Senator Dick Lugar applauded the opening of the Interim Central Reference Laboratory in Odessa, Ukraine. This is in 2010. Richard Lugar this week announcing that it will be instrumental in researching, you ready? Dangerous pathogens used by bioterrorists. Okay? That's not doing bioresearch. It's designed to do a kind, gentle, soft little, we're doing soap bubble testing. No, you're not. This is a level 3 biosafety lab, which is the first built under the expanded authority of the Nunn-Lugar Cooperative Threat Reduction Program. Now we have to take a brief little pause here from that article, okay? And you need to recognize how panicked they are, the amount of propaganda to cover up the total number. And China's now starting to reveal this. I think that this is part of this information war. These are communists, okay? That's the bottom line. But communists know that the free market capitalists are a bunch of liars and baby-killing rapists. They know all they need to do to win the info war is just to go out and tell the truth real quick. Because we lie so much. We lie so much. As part of the info war, we get our butts kicked by the communists. Like at RT.com, I love RT because we're going to put the truth on blast. And up against lies, they look really bad, right? I'm just going to play this because what they're also doing is not only propagandizing the American public and the entire world, they're also propagandizing the local populace. Like, pay no attention to those smokestacks with purple stuff coming out and people dying all around them. We're just doing this for your benefit. They're producing these videos. This is on the U.S. Embassy website. One example of it. You ready? Here it is. Watch this. Producing cartoons in Hollywood.
Ото піду завтра з кумом на полювання та вполюю файного такого кабанчика. Бах!
А я от була вчора на сільському зібранні, так там ветеринар новий розказував про якусь не нашу болячку у свиней, що по області ходить. Називається вона африканська чума свиней. Розказував про неї, фотографії такі страшні. І казав, якщо виникне у нас в селі, то всі свині загинуть. Буклети роздавав. Я от туди не взяла. Глянь, Любо.
Швидко поширюються, в ліс не ходити, перевдягатися, як заходити до свиней, мити руки, давати свиням тільки проварений корм. Якщо свиня захворіла, негайно звертатися до ветеринара. Ну, тепер до свині в хлів, як на прийом до цариці. Сміх та й годі. Все життя вирощували свиней по-своєму, і страшних болячок не було. Африка ж далеко, що нам до неї? А наші свині тут, в хлівах.
наче дикі кабани ту заразу переносять.
Кажеш тобі, Люба, Африка то далеко, а у нас якраз сезон полювання.
Enough?
No.
Did you guys understand anything that was being said?
No.
You didn't?
No.
Why not?
It's in
In
the
Ukrainian,
foreign language.
all right? They're making cartoons, okay, that essentially is posted up on the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv, okay? Now watch this one in English, sorry. Watch this one in English. They're so panicked, okay?
The work we do in the biological threat reduction program is complicated. And it's difficult to communicate it sometimes to outside audiences.
The biological threat reduction program is working in 27 countries. We feel this disinformation and misinformation is...
Did you see the Tbilisi map? See that?
Yes.
That's a major facility in Tbilisi, right there. We have an investigative journalist. I'm just going to play excerpts from it.
Yeah, and this is about Luger. The Luger Lab.
The Luger Labs in the Ukraine. Exactly. Right. These bioterrorism labs.
And they came out with this
as Senator Barack Obama was involved after the 2005 treaty, they launched this in Odessa, Ukraine.
Right.
Biolabs for the purposes of researching dangerous pathogens used by bioterrorists.
Right.
The Tbilisi lab... we'll get to that in a moment, but this is critical. But here's the CIA putting out on the U.S. State Department website in Kyiv saying, we need to dispel the Russian propaganda. You know, when you compare notes here, okay, you compare notes and you show the kinder, gentler side of what they're trying to do, and then you read that they're a level 3 biosafety lab with dangerous pathogens are doing research on bioterrorism. And then you go to the Tbilisi document release by an investigative journalist out of Belarus. Okay. This is very dangerous here, what they're doing. There's 300 and something labs.
They came out with this just last week, right? Was it just last week that they came out with this?
I think so, yeah, because they're panicking because we're finding out about it, releasing it. And the Russians
So they came out of it ahead of all of this information.
Yes.
They knew where it was going to go.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Working in 27 countries. We feel this
I don't know if it was last week, but it was obviously very recently.
Is done just to really exploit divisions.
We've had accusations that some research projects were being used to create threats, not to identify threats and reduce them. Ulterior.
Okay. I'm going to read this again. The Interim Central Reference Laboratory in Odessa, Ukraine, opened up, and Dick Lugar announcing it, the ribbon-cutting ceremony, in 2010. Barack Obama, at the time, was instrumental in getting all that set up. From 2005's treaty between the Pentagon and the Ukraine, right? Getting money pumping in there. Barack Obama, as U.S. Senator, was involved in installing all of this. He's straight up CIA. He's the Mahdi, okay? It's a conspiracy theory. I won't be able to know until Armageddon comes, all right? Researching dangerous pathogens used by bioterrorists. Does that sound like what this chick just said? Huh? She said, no, they're saying, basically, she's wordsmithing it. She's like, we're not creating them, huh? We're just researching them and identifying. You're freaking handling them. You need to be destroying them, right? So that they're never to be used, correct?
Correct.
Some research projects were being used to create threats, not to identify threats and reduce them. Ulterior motives are being injected where none exist.
We've built these capabilities for the partners. They're central reference labs for research. They publish everything they do. They invite the international community into their laboratories. They're working on behalf and the benefit of the people of their respective countries.
Kazakhstan, like many of the other republics in the former Soviet Union, had biological weapons. Russia media has attacked the Central Reference Laboratory that was built by the Biological Threat Reduction Program. The laboratory is there to both store dangerous biological pathogens from the Soviet era and to conduct research by Kazakhstani scientists in order to prevent the spread of new biological pathogens.
Work in Ukraine is essential to help safeguard Europe from some of the naturally occurring diseases that could really undermine security across the...
Okay. That right there is a lie. Okay. If you go back to the announcement, you go back to the treaties, right, that we have documents of, we've already revealed that. Okay. I'm going to have an index of all the bioweapons research, the bioweapons lab research that I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that so that you guys can see it. They're so contradictory in themselves. Senator Lugar says, wow, we're going to be researching at a level 3 lab, right? Exceptionally dangerous weapons, okay, that are used by bioterrorists. That's what he says. These jamokes over here at the U.S. Embassy is like, pay no attention, it's Russian disinformation. Really? Russian disinformation? I'm going by what the U.S. is saying. Forget about the Russians, right? The Russians are the ones that tipped me off to go do research on what Lugar said about a level 3 lab that Barack Obama set up. I'm not going by Russians. Russia's not the greatest threat in the United States. Russia's not the greatest threat to the United States of America. You know who it is? It's that freaking Muslim Brotherhood CIA bastard named Barack Obama that needs to be arrested, tried, convicted for treason against the United States of America. And you can come up with the penalty. I'll live stream it.
The region and ultimately to the United States.
There's, conflict with Russia. They've always been very close ethnically and socially. Now they've had a shift and they're looking to the West.
In Georgia, one of the primary targets of Russian disinformation is the Lugar Center.
They were putting articles in the newspaper saying our engagement there was basically to use them as a proxy for a biological weapons program.
Their purpose is to...
Okay. Now I need to shift gears. Did you see that facility in Georgia, right?
Yes.
The Lugar facility? Why is the name Lugar significant? Because U.S. Senator Dick Lugar was the one that did the ribbon cutting ceremony. All right? There have been documents released by an investigative journalist out of Belarus. And she had contacts inside the facility, okay? And I'm going to play an excerpt of what we played this morning. I'm going to play it again. It's just that you heard her say Lugar. You understand, they show on the picture, they show a picture of the facility itself. And they say, oh, this is we're just literally feeding vegetables to freaking rats, right? That's the impression they're trying to create, aren't they?
Yes.
We're just trying to determine if rats eat cheeses if they get fat, when in fact, no, it's a level 3 biosafety lab, okay, per the Non-Lugar Cooperative Threat Reduction Program to study anthrax, tularemia, Q fever, as well as other dangerous pathogens. Can I say that again? Other dangerous pathogens. What did they say? Oh, we're studying naturally occurring effects of Cheez-Its in rats, right? That's what they said. And Lugar himself, who the facility was named after, said we're studying at a level 3 level anthrax, right? That's not naturally occurring. That's a bioweapon. Is it not?
It is.
Here it is. I'm going to bring this girl on. She's the best researcher on this topic known to mankind. Seriously. Let me put this on the screen. Here it is.
Involved in the trafficking of human blood and pathogens as diplomatic cargo for a secret military program.
Когда вызвали, у них пена с рта шла, один кричал «help me, help me». Кричал все, а потом, когда умер, скоро увезли, и все это скрыли.
Pentagon scientists are given diplomatic immunity to research deadly diseases and biting insects at a military laboratory in Georgia's capital, Tbilisi.
What facility was that? That's the Lugar facility, ladies and gentlemen. Right? under the continuing cooperation agreement of Nunn-Lugar, okay? The guy that specifically published an article saying he was doing a ribbon-cutting ceremony to study dangerous pathogens used by bioterrorists, while Kyiv, of course, is saying, oh, that's Russian disinformation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we have Lugar's words, and I'm going to compare that to, because it's potentially Russian propaganda, if you get a girl like this from Belarus that's doing research, but she got documents from inside the facility that said they're working on bioweapons.
Этот запах, этот дым, все, что идет, красно-черный, зеленый, там это ночью, перед утром особенно, вот 3 часа, 4.
Выпускают все это ночью, чтобы люди не видели.
Internal documents and correspondence between the Ministry of Health of Georgia and the U.S. Embassy to Tbilisi show what experiments have been conducted at the Lugar Center.
There's a strong smell of chemicals. This smell comes from the Lugar Center at night, which is then spread by the wind to the residential areas. What is the need of military biolaboratories of the United States in 25 countries across the world? That's not his capacity. This is public area. I can use the elevator.
We're getting this girl on right here that's chiseling her way into this. She's coming on the show.
$65 million for gene editing. Can you answer why?
This documentary was done, let me back up here, okay? Look at this. September 21st, 2018. By Dilyana Gaitancheva, okay? Isn't it amazing, Deb Jordan? And I'll end this clip, and we need to share this like crazy. We're not going to stop covering this, and we're not putting out Russian propaganda. I'm going by U.S. Senator Dick Lugar's press release and him announcing the opening of a level 3 biosafety lab, the one you just saw. Isn't it amazing? I played the facility, right? I'm like, oh, okay, well, that one's in Georgia, you know, that one's in Georgia. So I don't know, maybe it's different. Belarus, Ukraine, they're doing bioweapons. But isn't it amazing how that facility was the Lugar facility in Tbilisi? And I'm looking at the press release of Dick Lugar that references back to Barack Obama as a senator helping out with the Nunn-Lugar partnership, okay, to improve safety for all people against weapons of mass destruction and potential terrorist use. Did Victoria Nuland, in her testimony with the CIA shill, we got the National Pulse that just released this thing identifying that Barack Obama was at the center of this thing. I'm now saying this guy is the Persian Mahdi, right? I'm telling you, this guy is straight up CIA. How many other scandals are we going to allow Barack Obama to get away with? Huh? Violating every single international law related to the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. This guy's leading the charge with the Pentagon / CIA. Isn't he?
Well, one thing we know for sure, Pete, and that is these bioweapons are dangerous business. And why? Because one was just released on us. That's why.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a very good point. And we're going to talk to Dr. Artis about that here momentarily. And that's why I'm scrambling. Okay. Here's what Russia just said, and we'll end this clip and we will transition to Dr. Artis's. We're going to get to the expose of what Ashley calls the FISA. That's Rhode Island speak. Listen to what Russia's saying. Russia is now saying, we found your bioweapons.
Assume that the materials existing today, the confirmations that were made these days by the Ukrainian side and by the United States of America. There was a statement made by the Deputy Secretary of State, Victoria Nuland, leave no doubt will not leave an opportunity for Washington to keep silence this time. We remember how many years, and also their attempts while spilling blood to find biological and chemical weapons throughout the world, while in fact occupying, killing people. They were looking in the wrong place. We have found instead of you. We have found your own products. We have found your biological material. It was developed primarily for military purposes. As it turns out, it was all happening in Ukraine. What were you doing there? It's a different continent. It has no borders with you. There are no bases of yours. What were they doing there under the guise of scientific research? Your specialist, among others, on a regular basis, they were giving instructions to the Ukrainian side as to the purposes of their studies involved. Now, considering that we have the evidence that cannot be refuted, we demand that you provide details. The world must know what were you intending to do there, to what end, within which deadline, what was the amount of the so-called investments in the biological activities of Ukraine. The data, materials, documents, please provide them. Enough games.
I'm going to end on this note. I need you to share this as if humanity, our lives are at stake here, because they are, all right? I'm going to end on this note right here. I'm not going by, this is not conspiracy theory. I'm not going by Russian propaganda. We're not even going to go by her words because they could all be false. But what's interesting is I'm connecting the dots and I'm looking at things like this right here. The article posted in 2010 about the bioweapons labs opening in the Ukraine and Lugar bragging about the level 3 bioterrorism. Now, of course, the State Department saying they're researching naturally occurring stuff, okay? And the effects of corn nuts on brats. It's not true. Lugar bragged about the level 3 aspects of studying anthrax, plague, and all that stuff. So if you compare that, what Lugar was saying, and you also consider the fact that they scrubbed that article from the internet. The article, which also highlighted the work of former Senator Dick Lugar, was additionally included in issue number 818 of the United States Air Force Counterproliferation Center's Outreach Journal. Okay? Let's open that up and look at it, right? Because don't believe. Look at this is the U.S. Air Force Counterproliferation Center CPC Outreach Program. All right? And you can go and read about Secretary Clinton urging the Senate to okay new nuke treaty. Of course, yes, she wants that, right? But this is from the U.S. Air Force, folks. This is media.defense.gov. U.S. government documents we're going into right here. And then you consider, quote, Lugar said plans for the facility began in 2005. Why is 2005 important, ladies and gentlemen? Because we've already covered this. I pulled down the treaty. And I looked at the U.S. Defense Department, the Pentagon, saying that they were going to oversee all the facilities. But he said the plans for the facility began in 2005 when he and who? Then Senator Barack Obama entered a partnership with the Ukrainian officials. Lugar and Obama also helped coordinate efforts between the U.S. and Ukrainian researchers that year in an effort to study and help the avian flu, explained author Tina Redlump. Okay? Bioweapons labs opening. That's a copy of the document. A 2011 report from the U.S. National Academy of Sciences Committee on Anticipating Biosecurity Challenges of the Global Expansion of High Containment Biological Labs explained how the Odessa-based lab is responsible for the identification of especially dangerous biological pathogens. This laboratory was constructed and technically updated up to a BS level 3 through a cooperative agreement between the United States Department of Defense and the Ministry of Health of the Ukraine. You're being lied to by Victoria Nuland. You're being lied to by Jen Psaki, who says that this is all a conspiracy theory. Nothing to see here. You know why? Because they all work for the CIA.